There, there are some spoilers. I'm not gonna lie. Speaking of which, question number one: if Dross can clone himself, so that's two spoilers. But if Dross can clone himself, Drossverse when? I don't understand the question because this is all the Drossverse. This is all. That's all this is. This has all been said in the Drossverse. Dross is the main character of all my books, even the ones he's not in. Maybe especially those. All right. How tall is Ethan? Hashtag Team Aurelius. I had to read the hashtag. That's the most important part of this. How tall is Ethan? He is a couple inches shorter than Lyndon. So he is, in the early 6 feet. He's shorter than 6'6". Yeah. Lyndon's taller than that. All right. So, what franchise inspired the character Sola from Last Horizon? I already got the question verbally, so I suspect they probably wrote it down and then thought I wasn't going to answer it, and then asked me in person, and I answered it. So I'm going to answer it again. Which franchise inspired Solo from Last Horizon? So, as you know, if you've read The Captain, Book 1 of Last Horizon, most of the main characters and a lot of the events and concepts were inspired by classic sci-fi series. And Sola is the power armored fighter girl in the series. And she is kind of a Samus Aran / Doomslayer. Basically, that's so it's a Samus Doomslayer, the Doom Samus, if you will. So that's sort of my take on that. And then Travis Baldry recorded the audio, and then at the end said, "I hope you're okay with her having a Texas accent because she does." And so I was like, "Yeah, great." So now she's a cowgirl. All right, she was a space cowgirl. Now she's just a regular cowgirl. Any chance of there being a book about Suriel and other characters? Yes, there's a very good odds of that. Boy, I don't know what I can say. Good odds. So here's the thing. I would like to do a spin-off book. There's a backstory book I'd like to do. The original thing I wanted to do prior to Cradle was a book about Suriel and Osriel. Maybe. So maybe, we don't know. I can't promise anything about future books. I'm sorry, but good odds. Are there specific people in your life that were inspiration for your characters? I am Groot. Well, I appreciate that you wrote the question twice. Once in English and once in Groot. So, are there specific people in your life that were inspiration for your character? Not usually, not really. Usually what happens is that I take a trope or a character or an attitude or a role that I like, and then I try to take character traits that I think would make that really entertaining and really bring that to life. So that's usually what I do. I take things that I know need to happen in the books, and then I base the character on, right? But then what I was going to say was, but all the villains come from my brother, and all the heroes come from my sister. That's all it is. That is true. The only one who's got a named character in the books is Rebecca. One of the dolls from Traveler's Cave's name is Rebecca, and her thing is she always is saying "punch him in the face." So I feel like that captures my sister's essence accurately. All right, from Bobby. Oh, thanks, Bobby. How many words a minute can you type? Okay, so there's a couple answers to that. I type pretty fast. I don't know what the actual word per minute is. I don't know. But it's when I'm actually writing off the top of my head, it's not nearly that fast because I got to think. So what I really do is I do about 1,000 words in half an hour is what I write when I'm drafting. So I will set a timer for half an hour. I'll write 1,000 words. That's not super fast. When I really get going on a book, it's usually 1,500 words in half an hour. But usually I can guarantee 1,000 words in half an hour when I'm really drafting and writing. When I'm just typing, like I'm typing over a scene I've already written or scripted out or whatever, it's a lot faster than that. I don't actually know the answer to that. What's my actual typing speed? I don't know. But that's how fast I get drafts out. So there you go. Where did Elder Whisper come from? Is there a backstory there? Yes, there is a backstory. Yes, Elder Whisper does have a backstory. I do know what it is.
Oh no.
Telling you would be a long story. Where did he come from? Sacred Valley. All right. And finally, we have what circumstances led to the fight where Weishi Jiran gets crippled? That one I don't know off the top of my head.
Who asked that question?
You stumped me. All right, Dean. Hey, Dean.
The honorable.
Wow, you got
The author.
the position of honor. Yeah, I don't know. I got an answer to that. Like I wrote out that backstory, but it was in like 2015 that I wrote that, and I never needed to reference it again.
Take it up.
So,
Give people a few minutes if they want to avert their ears, and then you can.
so Suriel came down and crippled him. Hit him in the leg.
So
So
let's
you're
explain what
you're
we're
gonna do spoiler questions if people want to not get
Oh,
spoiled.
spoiler
for the end of the
questions.
series.
Oh, okay. All right. So leave or close your ears. These are for spoilers that are further in the series. Not that we've been super spoiler free so far, but we're coming through. So if you this is like your first time reading the books or you haven't read them, if you haven't read them at all, these aren't going to make no sense to you at all. But if you've only read the first 3 books or whatever, maybe don't listen. This is for a different series. This is a spoiler question for Traveler's Gate. So who cares? All right. How did King Zakareth incarnate if the first incarnation had recently returned? So the idea was that the first incarnation, if I remember correctly from this series I wrote 10 years ago, if I remember correctly, the first incarnation was still bound to the territory at that time, and so therefore that's how there could be a second incarnation. As we see in City of Light with 2 other characters who, again, I'm not being spoiler free at all, but I'm going to avoid that one for spoilers. So we see kind of how that works when there's a pre-existing incarnation, but one who's bound to a territory, and then a new one starts incarnating. That's what happened. All right, so we have questions for Crimson Vault. Oh, wow, are these all Traveler's Gate? This is going to be awesome if these are all Traveler's Gate. Zakareth VI appeared dead to both Alan and Indiriel, but still survived by his armor. How is that possible? I don't remember what you're talking about. So I'm going to say Suriel descended. I don't know. I don't remember the circumstances behind this at all. It's because of the armor, I'm sure. Was that your question?
One of the people from our book club.
Oh, one of you from your group club, book club. Okay, so I would say that it's the property of the armor he's wearing from the Crimson Vault. I'm sure is what the actual answer is, but I don't really remember. So that's what I suspect is the answer.
The thing is actually, my mother is fighting.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so he dies and Ellen checks. Not
Yeah.
checks him because he has not like armor.
Yes.
But Imperial, he should know
Yes.
whether this king is dead or
Right.
alive because he
Yes.
worked with him for a long time. But he also declares that the king is dead, but he magically survives later.
That is-
so
That is very logical, but I genuinely don't remember. So that's another one where you've stumped me because I do not remember that book well enough, so I'll have to reread it. I don't know. I don't remember. That book came out in 2013, so I don't know.
Crimson Vault hat.
Oh, Crimson Vault hat! I've been stumped by your book
I
club.
will send it to him to India.
Perfect. All right. Okay, this is a real spoiler, and I think it's also from your book club. Why Lyra? Is it because Lyndon's team is not very good at naming? I'll give you 2 answers to that. The first answer is yes. The second answer is because I was kind of thinking what sort of name would, the second you hear it, tell you who this person is. And so I had to go, okay, I've only got a couple options. So there were only a few, and so I batted a few around, and then I tested them. And so I read them out loud to my family. And when I read them out loud to my family and I started that scene, I said his name immediately, and they all reacted. I went, okay, well, that one works. So I stuck with it. And then, will we ever get expansion on the United Worlds front or Life Under the Brochure? I would like to. I would like to do that. That is something that I've really actually been looking forward to for a long time. I really wanted to do that. That was one of the things that originally I would have liked to do in the second half of Waybound. And if we had done a 13th book, I would have gone into that. But we didn't, and I'm glad we didn't, because I almost died. All right, here we go. Wintersteel. Was it hard? Oh man, we're really just diving right into the spoilers. Okay, was it hard choosing Yeren to beat Lyndon in the tournament? And if so, did you have an alternate route if you let Lyndon win? All right, that is another great question. We're out of Oreos, unfortunately. That is another great question. I actually told somebody this in line earlier. When I started planning out the Uncrowned King tournament, I went, before I wrote a word of either book, I was like, crap, this is going to take 2 books. And I was thinking, okay, what do we want to happen in the tournament? What lesson does Lyndon need to learn? What would be good for his arc? What would be good for Yaren's arc? And I went, I really think Lyndon ought to lose, because first of all, the protagonist in these situations never lose, so you don't expect him to lose. And I'm like, a guy who wins all of his major encounters up until he becomes, God at the end, isn't very fun to read about. Like, it's like he just succeeded the whole time. So I wanted to do that, and then I thought that was a good way to advance both of their characters if she had to beat him and he had to learn how to lose and then still live with her afterwards. So I thought two things. One, I'm going to stop the tournament in the middle, and two, I'm going to have Lyndon lose. And I went, they are going to be mad. So I knew that before I started, and so I run this stuff by my family, so I called my dad, and I was like, okay, this is what I think I ought to do, but they're going to be mad, they're going to be upset. And he went, well, look, if you think they're going to like it afterwards, that's still probably what you ought to do. It's good for the character. It's something that ultimately they're going to appreciate it, but at the time they might be upset. So I went, okay, I'm going to do it. And then people were upset. And I was like, and I was all sad. I was like, dang it. And so I did this intentionally, knowing people were going to be upset, but I still was like, oh man, come on, I got something coming. And then I wrote Winter Steel, and people were like, oh, okay, so you were going somewhere with this, but I'm still upset at you. And that was kind of, I don't know what the original question was, but yeah, that was the alternative, of course, would be to have Lyndon somehow beat all odds and end up winning. And what I kind of thought I did the best of both worlds. I still think the ending of Winter Steel is one of my favorite endings. I liked the parallel between Lyndon and Yaren throughout that book, and I liked, of course, how it ended. I don't know why I'm being coy about spoilers now. We're talking about the end of the book. I liked him fighting his way up the tower and beating all the uncrowned contestants. I enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun to write. I wrote that last sequence like all together, all at once, and I was like, yeah. Sitting there listening to rock music. So anyway, so I decided you were going to win the tournament from the very beginning. So there you go.
Good choice.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah. What happens with Jai Chen? Does she become more powerful? Yes, she does. All right, so there is going to be more with her. Some people said that they wanted there to be more with Jai Chen and Jai Long. I understand that. One of the things I like to do with minor characters is there's a couple of things that I'm going. A lot of times people think that by the amount of detail I put into a character is how major they're going to be or how important they're going to be in the plot moving forward. In my estimation, I'm going, if I've got to write a minor character, they might as well be cool, right? So I tend to put a lot more detail into the minor characters than maybe is necessary. So therefore, there are a lot of people that kind of are recurring characters who look like they're going to play a much bigger role in the plot than they end up doing. And so that's kind of Jai Chen. Jai Chen's one of those people that's like, in the original timeline this played out, she would have been more major, but didn't happen, so she wasn't. And they kind of bypassed her. But she's going on her own adventures, and one of the things I'd like to do is write like a Jai Chen short story. I think that'd be fun. Yeah, I can't promise that. I can't promise it. Stop talking. Stop it. But that'd be cool. That's something I would like to do. So this is from Kalyani. Why didn't Lyndon build Ghostwind Hall in the labyrinth? That would have been safer than building it on Windfall and leaving it for Reagan Chan and the Wicked Dragon Finder. Yes. So my original idea for that was it would have made a lot of sense, or that would have been the most advantageous place for him to build. But my thought with that was he's warping space and authority, and so he can't do that in the labyrinth. So if he's doing his own little separate pocket world in the labyrinth, it would have been a lot harder and a lot more complicated. And the funny thing is, that's one of those that I actually did start writing the scene for, and it was getting super technical. And so I was making up all these like magic rules, and then he was like going through them. And so those are the scenes that I start writing because I think about them and I write them down in notes, and then I go, nope, skip it. And that's it. So then I just cut it. And so there was an explanation for that. He went through this whole logic for doing it. But those scenes end up being really boring. So I generally don't write it. I know. I think you would really enjoy them. And I would really enjoy them if I were a reader. I'd be like, ooh, technical details, yes. But that's not the target audience for the series. It's not really what I'm It's not what I'm going for. So in order to keep it moving, I kind of had. So that's the meta answer. The in-universe answer is he wanted to do that, but that was not the meta. It's one of the similar reasons why he was doing his forging in the Soul Forge instead of in the Labyrinth itself. Yeah. So yeah, it was the suppression of authority, and it would have muddled all these things up. So that was the idea. And then from an author perspective, having it happen in the Labyrinth would have meant that I would have then had to have a way for the bad guys to get to him in the Labyrinth. So then that's the author reason for it, because I'm like, crap. So then that would be way too hard for the bad guys. So, oh, we got 2 more. All right. Did you already know Lyndon was going to leave Cradle by the time he wrote his meeting with Suriel and Unsold? Yes, I did. So the entire story of Cradle is, a lot of people were asking, when is Suriel going to come back? And of course I did have a brief conversation with him in Bloodline. But what I've been saying from the beginning is this isn't Suriel's journey coming back to Lyndon, it's Lyndon's journey going up to Suriel. So that's how I thought of the whole series. So having that happen at the end was always part of the plan. And then here we go, because that was supposed to be my last one, but I'm not doing that. Can we expect Lyndon and Aaron's son to have a series? No, one more. No, that is not the plan. The plan is not to have a spin-off series with him. Now, I might do a spin-off series with the rest of them. I'm not promising anything. I hate to. Never mind. No, it's I would love to do that. That would be a lot of fun. That's one of those things that's like an ambition that I had. It'd be cool to do. But I don't know that I can do that. I don't know if that's practical. A lot of reasons it might not happen, but I'd like to. It'd be fun. Oh, she's bribing me. See, now we're talking. I can be bribed. I haven't bribed. 100%. I can be bribed. Dawnwing Sect merch win. Oh, maybe we should do that. Yeah, like a hoodie with a Dawnwing symbol on the back. Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah, great. I don't know. Yeah, she's writing it down. All right, there we go. Yeah. That's it. All right, that's all I got. So thanks everybody for coming through.